I think it's going. Hello. Really, really, really excited to be here. Today I'm streaming through Zoom, so I don't know exactly what I'm doing as much. I'm going to try and have the phone happening, but I don't know if the phone's going to happen, so I may or may not see your comments. And today I have a super, super, super special guest coming on who I'm so excited about. I have been working with this woman. I was saying it in a post yesterday. I think a little over a year. It's hard to tell with COVID times. And her transformation has just been so beautiful, such a testament to her commitment to herself. And that feels really good. I just joined Instagram and I follow Ram Dass. He's like a spiritual teacher. And she can't join via the link. Okay. Okay, so sorry. Let me just get her the link. So I just need to do some things. Sorry. Sorry. Okay. And his post yesterday or a couple days ago was everything you want in relationship is through meeting yourself. There she is. Hi. Oh my gosh. It's so good to see you.
It's good to see you. Oh, you're wearing my favorite fuzzy sweater.
I'm wearing the fuzzy sweater and I'm actually I'm like surrounded by like fuzzy blankets. I felt like we could have like a slumber party vibe.
Oh, I didn't bring my pillow and my blankie.
I feel like you have this slumber party headband happening.
Totally.
You know, like when you're like,
we're gonna do facials.
We're gonna do facials. I remember, I think my favorite sleepover ever was a birthday party, and there was like maybe 8 girls. And one of the girls discovered that if she held her hands around a tea mug, I'm thinking about your tea mug, and then like we gave each other massages, they were like hot hand massages. Like, I know, we were like 11, we were like, this feels amazing.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
It really was. And then she got a little overwhelmed because like everybody wanted one from her. Anyway, it was cute. It was really sweet.
That's sweet.
It was really fun. So I've been trying to remember how long we've been working together.
I say it's about 1.5 years. That's what I tell people. Like maybe it's a little less, a little more, I'm not sure, but.
Would you tell the story of when we met at like a networking thing, and then we all went to like a lunch, like a little lunch afterwards. And I could only stay for a few minutes. I had to get home because of kids. But can you tell the story from your point of view of what it was like when we like met up at that lunch?
Oh my gosh, yes. And it's funny because I don't think we met in the actual meeting that day. I don't think we did. And I was just walking. Like I was at one end of the table and like I was about to leave actually. And I think you had just popped in and I walked by and I'm a fairly outgoing person. So I like to say hi to people I don't know. But like I saw you immediately. I was like, I don't know her, but I must talk to her. and like at the same time, you were also like looking at me and like we were like, hi. And I was like, what do you do? You're like, I'm a magic worker. And I'm like, I need to know more. I was like, I need to know more about this magic. And you were like, call me. And I swear to God, that was like the full exchange, words wise, but I felt like so much more happened than just those words. And it was just like our higher selves were like, oh my God, finally they're talking.
I'm embarrassed and
So
super
yeah,
impressed that I said that.
you did. You
Did
totally did. And I was like, what kind of woman says it's magic? But I was like, I want some of that. I
it?
want whatever she's selling. Yeah.
You can call me
Yeah,
Sally.
for sure. It was really, really cool. But
Didn't
what
you
was funny,
originally,
yeah, go ahead.
didn't you actually want to talk to me for your husband?
Well, that's what I was gonna say next is that I was like, I don't know if I was just in denial for myself, but I was like, oh, my husband needs help. My husband needs help. And so I talked to her and I was like, yeah, I talked to you, Karina, and I said, yeah, my husband is working through some stuff, and I think he really needs support. And so I was trying to manifest support for him, and really it was me who needed the support. So, um, yeah, that's
I was just saying that as you were popping on, that this Instagram post had popped up about how everything you want in your relationships comes from you being your full realized self.
yeah, yeah, and it took me a little while. Like, so I guess if anyone's listening and is contemplating working with Karina, like I did a lot of dancing back and forth around. Do I want to? Don't I? Karina was just like witnessing me being like,
Like, how
mm-hmm.
big a space shall I hold for this process? I think you had at least six things that like we navigated, negotiated.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I think there's part of that that's like it's okay, like whatever you need to do to go through to navigate a process, that's just where you are. But also to trust yourself, right? Like I think I was in a place where I just wasn't very trusting of myself and of people and of, the process and the journey. I just wasn't very trusting. And so that's just where I was.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how that's one of the circles that I think you're definitely starting to see is that whatever's coming up for you isn't necessarily labeled clearly that the reason why you're feeling this is because you need to discover this other thing. Like things just unwind. So, what I just heard you say was, I wasn't very trusting. I wasn't very trusting of myself. I wasn't very trusting of the process. And so, what that looked like in our container was you first had to trust me.
100%. Yeah.
And so, as I was able to like hold whatever you brought up, it was I mean, I noticed it. there, there was a point when I was like, huh, I wonder when we're going to get to the end of the list of things we need to navigate. Like, when will you relax and drop in and find the yes? And we don't know when that, you don't know, when I don't know when that happens. You won't know when that happens. You just know when you know.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And, I, in a half hour call with Karina, like there's inevitably something you're going to go, huh, okay. All right. This woman knows what she's talking about. Or like, she can see me in a way that I can't see myself. And it might feel really scary. I think that's part of it too, is that can feel really scary when there's parts of yourself that are being seen that you just haven't acknowledged, or maybe are scared of.
You've
Um,
maybe been hiding from yourself.
mhm.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a natural reaction of going, oh, but it's
Thank
okay to just
you.
trust it too.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a really good awareness that I know I've certainly felt as I've gone to work with people too, because God knows I've done my work. I plan to do this work for the rest of my life. I'm curious. I have two things that come up that we haven't talked about. What which one am I going to start with? Hang on. Yeah, let's pull in your husband. What do you see different? What's happening? What's occurring? What is different in your relationship with your husband now, or even in his relationship with himself now that you've been shifting?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, and I think I'm less controlling,
Mm,
right? I think that's just one of my themes that has been throughout this process is and that comes with trust, right? Like the releasing the control and trusting. So like I'll give you an example. This morning, I woke up and our kitchen is a disaster. And his job is to clean the kitchen generally.
Mm.
Like that's his job. And my job is to cook. But, before I would have woken up and been like, oh, I cooked dinner last night and then he didn't do his part. Like, just that energy of, oh, you're so annoying. Why didn't you do what you're supposed to do? And then it probably would have led to some kind of blow up or just tension between us. But I very consciously this morning woke up and I chose to just allow it to be. I just chose to be like, yeah, this is where it is. And, you know, I don't even think I made a snide comment, which is big for me. Right? Like normally it'd be like, oh God, if only somebody had put this stuff away. Yeah. And so I just chose to like step outside of myself and see where it went. And he naturally said, babe, I'm coming home on lunch today. I know we didn't get to this last night, and I'll have some time over lunch to put the dishes away.
Oh my gosh. Like it seems like a small thing, right? It seems like a small thing. I made this little choice. I chose not to be like naggy about it. But then like I'm seeing you seeing the ripples of it. And to be honest, like it's we like to focus on the big things. How much money am I making? Who am I going to marry? Like we like the big things, but our days are made up of the small things. So picture the ripples where first of all, you got to just receive him making that acknowledgement and honoring of what his commitment is to like the running of your household. So he stepped in. You didn't have to do that work. Um, you got to not be in that energy. Like that energy, it can be fun. Like as women, let's not lie. Like there is some like that can feel fun, but it also cuts you off from other things. And then I'm seeing the space where you didn't create a fight, so like the two of you get to like be in flow. Like, hmm, I shudder to think how many hours I spent in relationship fights in my 20s and 30s and 40s.
Yeah. And I've gone through that with him, right? Like that our relationship has grown and evolved so much that like before that would have been inevitable. Like it would have been inevitable that I would have woken up and it would have been a pattern. He would have been like, oh, here we go again. And, yada, yada, yada. And it would have unfolded that way. And it's funny because I could almost see I could see that
Yeah,
this morning. I
you
was
can
like,
see it playing out. Mhm.
I could see exactly where it's going to go. And I could feel myself very consciously deciding not to choose that.
Yeah. What was the space in you that was able to choose, able to see the choice and then able to choose it? What, like, if you didn't have it before, what do you call that? How do you feel that? What is that space?
Yeah, and I think that's where it comes back to what you were saying, how like the little things are make up the big things. And if I wasn't doing the work on myself, or if I wasn't giving myself the love and the practices of the grounding and everything that we do, of the trusting and the grounding, then I I wouldn't have that space that felt comfortable, like that is now so present in me that I can just go back to,
Mm.
because I would just be up here, right? I would just be up here and I would just react, react, react. But now I'm getting so much more practiced in like that grounding feeling of like, what do I really want? Like I choose trust. I choose happiness. I choose faith. And I can go back to that so much faster now. And so when I feel myself having that moment of, oh, I like this is really annoying me, and I can say, okay, coming from my truer place, how do I want to address this? And
Yeah.
sometimes it might be, I need you to hear that this is upsetting for me, right? But even that is a different way of saying it than, you didn't put the dishes away. It's saying, I'd really like to talk to you about, what's going on with cleaning up our kitchen, because it's just not sitting well with me.
Yes. Oh, and as I'm watching your body language, you're like, I used to be up here, which is in your head. And then you're like, and then I can feel you like breathing and using word like grounding, and literally your hands came down and you came back to like your body as you felt that space, as you felt that honoring.
Yeah, and then it starts to feel like home a little bit, right? It starts to feel like home because you know what that space feels like to you. And when you can go back to it, you're like, "Oh, yeah. This is the place that feels really good. This is home."
You start to feel it and trust it. And you know where to find it. You're not lost.
Yeah. And it just prevents me from the reaction. Like we've had so many more productive conversations, so many more productive conversations where, there was the other week he was saying something and I felt he was in reaction and he was like thinking about, himself and what's going on. And like I was just calmly able to navigate to a place of, I just need you to hear me for a minute.
Mm.
And I would say, here's what I'm feeling. And he would say, yeah, but I didn't do this and this. And I said, that's not what I'm not blaming you. I'm not even asking you to justify your actions. I'm just asking you to hear that that hurt me. I'm just asking you to hear it. And like I was able to navigate to that conversation where he then, and I'm just like, all I'm asking is for you to hear it. Can you just hear me? And I just kept coming back to that until he could see that I wasn't looking to have him hear me so that I could blame him. It was just so that I could be seen.
Be seen
And
as you're.
that really helped. And then he was able to say, okay, yes, I see you. And then it opened up a much deeper level of an honest conversation, which was just so great.
Mm. So I'm hearing the themes of trust and being seen, and that's happening with him and happening with yourself. And how are you noticing that happening with your business?
Yeah, it's with business, it's funny because I feel what Karina calls the both and. The both and is it's another place that I come back to now that's like a home, right? Because it's like, oh yeah, I can be in both
Mm.
and I can feel that sometimes I'm up here and I'm like doing gotta do all the things,
Mhm.
but then I can also feel myself like grounding back and I can feel I can feel that there's like I know what I want and I know what I desire to do with my business, but I can also see that like the ego getting in the way, right? Like I can see that
Mm.
happening. And so like you say, how you do anything is how you do everything. So it's just that constant being aware of, oh, okay, this is like if I'm like, oh, why did that person react to me that way? Like she doesn't like me or no 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 like being like, oh, okay. Okay. Like, let's breathe into that and like, oh, be aware that that's happening and bring yourself back so that you can like move through it.
Mhm. And
Um, yeah.
you're very clear on your desires. Like not everyone is. Like that's one of your
But remember, I
superpowers.
wasn't
Wait,
like
what?
that's when I came to you. Remember, I was like,
Oh my god,
oh,
that's right.
what's my purpose? And that is, probably the biggest question people probably come to you with, right?
It's no, it's how do I deal with my mother?
Oh, well, that's actually probably what's underlying what's my purpose.
It's so funny when energy shifts, like I often forget where it was. Like I just forget. It just isn't true for you anymore. So that's funny. Like you have shifted that story so powerfully that I 100% believe your story that you know exactly what your desires are. That's so beautiful. It
Thank
was my
you.
purpose. So yeah, let's just mention that since we've worked together, you did what? What did you quit? What did you leave? What are you doing now?
Oh my gosh. So I left my corporate job,
Mhm.
and when we started working together, I had the reason I started working with you, or part of what drew me to working with you, was I had put myself out of my comfort zone a little bit. I had decided to co-author a book and I felt really big feelings of like, of of fear around that in terms of like, can I do this? And, worthiness and everything. And then, so I had done that. And then I had gone back to corporate life, but I also knew that that wasn't my be all and end all. And I was like, okay, I want to find what I wanted at that time was to find some clarity and find what's my purpose. Like, if this isn't it, what is it? But I also had an awareness that I wanted to grow my business, my personal business. And
Mhm.
I had started doing that. But I was like, oh, do I really want to do this? And it was just a very wishy-washy
Mhm.
place.
Mhm.
So I was in corporate life, and then you know what? I ended up, and it was probably about, I want to say, 4 months after working with you. Because then, so March last year, COVID hit. I took a break from everything. I think we all did. And then I came back in April, and I had all the tools and that we had worked on. And I was like, I'm going for it. I'm just going for it. And I decided to go for it. And I started building my business, and it started taking off. And I was like, oh my gosh, this could happen. This could happen. And then I came back to you to work with you again, because I was like, I need to level up, and I can't level up if I'm not seeing myself and the opportunities to clear through things, right? And so then we did started doing some work together, and it wasn't because of anything you told me or anything like that. I just had an awareness. I was like, it's time. It's time. It's time for me to let this go.
You
This isn't
trusted
serving me
yourself.
anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I knew the lifestyle I wanted. It was more like I wanted to be able to be home and not
Mhm.
be on someone else's agenda. And I knew what I wanted from that point of view, and I decided that's it. I'm not holding myself back from that anymore.
Yeah. I'm still in shock that I completely had forgotten where you started. I'm like doing a little bit of work over here to let that be okay. You've
Oh
just come so
yeah,
far. Come
yeah.
so far.
And go ahead.
One of my favorite. So yeah, this feels right to mention right now. So one of the things that we do is we do a lot of celebrating. So it sounds like a little thing. Again, little things make the big things. And I had a call with someone a couple days ago, and someone we were just connecting, just chatting, and I celebrated her, and I could feel her whole energy go, ugh, yeah, whatever. Okay, moving on.
Totally.
And watching you and the women in our group together celebrate each other, but mostly be opening to celebrating yourself is such a space of, I can't even find the words right now. So many people, so I'm just going to say what occurred to me. There's a space around trusting yourself in society right now that has words like, I don't even care what the fuck anyone else thinks. And I get that. There's like a rebellion because women have been supposed to show up in a certain way for so long, but it's not in alignment with a bigger being. And so this space to step into the discomfort, it is uncomfortable to be like basically loving on yourself for something that you've created, and then to have it mirrored in a group, it just it is like the infinity sign. It is like you feel more, and then the women reflect it back to you, and then you fill up even more with it. And there's a giving to yourself just in that simple act that is one of those how you do anything becomes how you do everything. Because if you can love on yourself in, I mean, we do the good and the bad, right? Like if you can love yourself, whether you're seeing your challenges, even where you can see your more classic wins or, good things happening, you're loving yourself through everything. And that's been the goal all along. It's not you get
Mm.
to love yourself once you get it right. That you can say, fuck that too.
And that was a huge shift for me, like a huge one. And we had it in Goddesses and Jeans. There was one of the modules, I can't remember which one, doesn't matter, but it was, I was sitting here and I just remember looking out this window. We were talking about, and like one of the biggest shifts I had was like, what your achievements don't define your worth. And that's true when you don't achieve something, it doesn't define your worth, but it's also true when you do achieve something, it doesn't define your worth. And I think when like that just like blew my mind open.
Every time.
It just blew me open and I was like, "Oh, my worthiness if I make $1 million is exactly the same as it is right now. My
And what
worthiness if I lose it all is exactly the same as it is right now."
and what would you say to the women who hear the words you're saying, but but can't are listening to the words you're saying but can't hear it? Like it just doesn't make sense. What would you say?
Sometimes it just doesn't make sense. Like just be aware
Chills.
that it doesn't make sense.
Chills. Borrow that belief. Wouldn't you rather it was that way? Like, wouldn't you rather that be the truth? So if some women are saying it's the truth, it must be possible. Let it not make sense. Let yourself want what's on the other side of whatever it is you have to figure out to let that or shift or allow or surrender to make that possible.
Oh, yes. And the one thing is don't is you talked about this yesterday is notice if you're resisting the not making sense. Well, it doesn't make sense for me, so it must not be true for me.
Right? The woman resisting the celebration. Oh, shut up. Enough. Forget it. Next. Oh, oh, that's interesting that I'm not letting myself receive the magic.
It's so fun. Like it's fun and it's crazy and it's like it's mind-blowing and grounding and all the things.
Oh my gosh. We have so much fun. It's crazy.
We do, and I would say like I don't know if what's coming up for you next. Is it goddesses that you're
Oh, she's
running
giving
next,
me
or
my big announcement. That's so perfect.
oh,
Okay. I'm going to run the course again. I'm going to
oh,
open up for calls. I'm running it again. And two brags, two celebrations from, well, there's like a bajillion, but two that really affect the course are um, first, all of you, like we had such a good time working together. You've all enrolled in my next container to continue working together. So if there's ever like a recommendation, it's like, do you want to stay in the container? Yes. So that's like such a good win. And that the number that all of you said, every single one said, oh yeah, longer. So I've doubled the container. So the first time we ran it, it was 3 months, and now it's going to be 6. These things just need time to unfold. Time without pressure, time to allow, time to be in your spaciousness of whatever needs to come up and unfold. So those are the two big.
that's so exciting. Yes, goddesses and jeans. So I will tell you, for anybody who's thinking, oh, a group, that's exactly what I said to Karina. Oh, a group? Nah, that's not for me.
We had a whole
That's not
session
for
about
me.
it.
We did. I think I
Mhm.
cried probably.
Pretty
If it
sure.
was a session with us, I cried. It's okay though. Tears are good. Tears are good. Um, but it was, I don't want to be seen dealing with my shit in front of other people. Like, no, thank you. Yeah. And it's so funny because I can't quite say what the shift is. I'm sure I could probably meditate on it, but I don't feel that at all anymore. Like, I just don't feel that at all. Like, I don't even feel that coming here and talking with you for whoever may be watching, right? I don't feel that anymore. And it's just like that's been a shift. You can go into your first group being like, oh, I really don't know how I feel about this. That's okay. You don't have to be like rah rah group coaching. But Karina was like, just trust the process.
Well, also, I gave you the reflection that what you were desiring in your real life was being a leader of people. And so
Yes.
if you don't let the people who are in your life, if you don't let yourself be seen in a container where someone is holding all the space for all of you being welcome, how are you going to show up as your full, real, authentic self when you're in your
Yeah.
day to day, in your little thing?
Thank you for that. And I would say, you know, if anybody has a business and they're in a leadership position or working towards one, that it's almost essential that you get uncomfortable and you get familiar with being seen and showing up in that way. And it has changed who I am as a leader 100,000%. And even the practices that we've done in Goddesses, I've brought to my team. You know, if I have a team call, I start it with celebrations. If I'm having a one-on-one coaching call, I start it with celebrations because it feels so good.
Good.
And I want women to own their power and to own the good things and to own all of it and just be like, yeah, I freaking rock that.
Hmm. There's your next reel. Power. La, da, da, la, da, da. Own that.
And it takes time. Like it just takes time. It takes time for people to see that. But if you're modeling that too with authenticity, like you truly are doing the work and you're doing it yourself and you're showing how you can celebrate yourself, then it gives them space to say, oh, I guess maybe I could do that too.
Oh my gosh, you just gave me such a good insight. I've been sort of unclear. I Celebrations to me feel really different than wins.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I sort of know I kind of don't it doesn't really matter because that's what I do, but why do wins bug me? What is it about wins? Wins are on the outside.
Mm,
Wins are on what you accomplished. And like where we started this call, but if it all starts from here, if I'm creating my life, then I'm working on, then I need to like celebrate the the foundation, the font of it all, right? The source is me playing with myself, with energy, with my life. And I don't want you to see what I accomplished. I want you to see who I am. Like you said with your husband, I want to be seen.
yeah.
Like how tender and vulnerable and intimate and revolutionary is that?
So powerful. When and then you shift in how you look at celebrations to your point, right? Like it's, you know, if I'm celebrating team members, I'm celebrating, oh my gosh, like you put yourself out there this month in a different way than you ever have, right? Like I'm celebrating that, or I'm celebrating, wow, you know, it could just be like you had 3 conversations that didn't go well. Like I'm celebrating that for you.
Yes, your next step, whatever it is for you, your next step is perfect and worthy and beautiful of being celebrated. That's where it's nobody else's race. That's where that idea comes in. And it's so valuable not to compare yourself and let yourself celebrate every little expansion. It's every drop in the bucket. Yeah. I feel like it's so funny now being in this industry, being like a coach or whatever, because the words, like so many of the same words get used in the same places. And you're like, oh shit, I think I've heard that a million times before, but I'm really feeling it this time. And just trusting like that transmission is like, yeah, when you're not in alignment with something, here's a good energy awareness. If something makes you feel resistant or something turns you off or something that you think you want doesn't feel good, that's the energy showing you what's not in alignment. So if there's a word that you think you should want, like love or gratitude or joy or whatever it is, and part or being a goddess, holy crap, that can be like a lot to take on. If something that you think in theory you would like but it makes you kind of go ugh, just let that be an indication that it's something that's in the way from you actually receiving. It's a call to process that ugh, so that you can get that shit off your heart so you can let it in.
And I'll get that way with gratitude sometimes, right? I'm like, okay, like if you put that, I have to think of 5 things to be grateful for, then it's like you're not coming, sometimes you're not coming at it with the energy of I'm grateful. It's like, I have to think of something like my kids, my family, food, my house, da da da, right? And then you're like,
Mm-mm.
there we go. No, it's because it could be it needs it not it needs to, it can come from a whole different space.
What I'm noticing more and more is that when you feel the energy of the thing first, so if you feel the energy of gratitude,
Yeah.
and then you see what things want to come into that are in that space, like coming through the space, in the space of gratitude. I'm I'm building something. I've started building something with Matt, with my guy, and we're having meetings right now. We're not planning, we're not doing any planning. We're finding what's the energy of what we want to build. What does that look like? What does it feel like? What does it taste like? What does it smell like? And then it'll tell us what to do.
Oh, good. And I'll tell you, I'll celebrate this with you because I when I sit down to do like my to-do list for work, I do like to start out with some gratitude. Just to see where I am at. Where am I at? What am I feeling in the energy of? And sometimes it might be a thing. Sometimes it might be we rocked an amazing event last week. It might be that, and I'm grateful for that. But this morning it was I have gratitude for 2 things that just came right up. It was for being in my truth and noticing, and just gratitude for noticing, and gratitude for the flow of the universe. It might sound super woo woo to anybody who has to do this work, but I'm like the me of a year and a half ago would look at that and be like, what is this girl even talking about?
The words are
But
so limiting. The words are
that's
not
what I'm
the
grateful
thing. They're a
for.
representation. Yeah. Because you felt the energy, and those words happen to be the words that I guess will fit. But the energy is like so much. It's all the things. Oh, honey.
And I'm
Okay.
grateful for our work together
I'm so grateful for you.
and the women in our group.
Women in our group, you're magical. Yeah. Okay, I haven't, but if anybody commented, I will be checking your comments after. Please, if you're watching, just give some love to Andrea. She is just the most beautiful person to be with, and to feel her trust of me flowing into the trust of her. And then it just becomes greater than the sum of our parts.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, darling. This was so lovely.
It was.
All
Oh,
right.
I got a dose of Karina on the Tuesday. Oh my gosh. I said to the girls in our course, I want a little Karina on my shoulder because
I'm there.
I know you are. And like I said, like now that I'm able to come back to my home, like it's taken me a long time to get there, right? It's taken me a
It's,
long time.
30, 32 years, 29 years, and 5,000 plus 29 years, you know? Like, there's been lots and lots and lots of spaces in the collective that we have not been allowed to feel like we're our own home. So you are the change. I heard someone posted a thing about the goddess revolution, and I was like, sold.
Oh
Yeah. And if
yeah.
that feels like a lot and that makes you go, ugh, just know that there is a goddess in you that's letting you know that she'd like to be free, please. She'd like to come and play.
And that's the place where you can serve the most from,
Hallelujah. Yeah.
right? It's not serve and sacrifice and then you're gonna feel good about yourself. It's feel good about yourself and then you can serve. No sacrifice required.
No sacrifice required. That's my new hashtag. I love that. Sold. Mwah.
Love you.
I
Thank
love you so
you.
much. I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.